So thank you so much. I'm going to, as Hannah said, I'm presenting on participatory learning platforms, lessons for strengthening the upscale of sustainable land management and agricultural innovations in Ghana. And we are drawing our experience of 2 years of engagement with stakeholders in Northern Ghana for this. I'm going to talk about what we have done so far, what lessons have been learned, and the way forward into our project. Land is a very critical component of human development, and in the global south, it plays a very key role in the development because it serves as a purpose for agriculture and other uses. However, African land is experiencing a vast degrading at a very fast rate. For instance, between 2015 and 2019, we have a multiple fold of degradation from 7% to over 15% in Africans' agriculture and land. And this is very troubling because Africans' economies depend so much on agriculture, which also depends on land. This affects food security and also has poverty issues in rural communities where land is an important component of their livelihoods. However, there are a lot of effort that have been put in place from the regional level, that is the African Union level, all through to national government. We see the Agenda 2063, which prioritizes the need for us to address land degradation. We see the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program. We see the Maputo Protocol and the Malabo Declaration, all of them aiming at addressing or strengthening land degradations. And also in the area of research, a lot of innovations that are related to agriculture have been designed. But contemporary research and data reveals that just less than 2% of these innovations are often taken. Why? Because it's either the innovation do not meet the needs of farmers, or farmers are not engaged in the process of developing the innovation, which is what we often see in traditional research approaches. So the Interfaces project actually wants to contribute to this. So we ask ourselves two main questions that as a project, how do we actively engage diverse stakeholders and knowledge sources for social learning and theory of change in agriculture, innovation, scaling, and outreach? And then the second question we are asking ourselves, what contributions do social learning and theory of change offer for strengthening agricultural innovations in vulnerable contexts? So I'll talk briefly about the Interfaces project, what it is. It's a project that is accompanying 4 other projects that are funded by the German Federal Ministry of Research, Technology and Space. And under Interfaces, we undertake gender-responsive and participatory social learning with stakeholders. We also do co-development of gender-responsive theories of change and knowledge synthesis, where we share experiences and lessons learned across all the 4 regional projects, including Interfaces. So our assumption is that through social learning, a change in understanding will take place among targeted stakeholders and lead to a change in attitude, worldviews, and epistemological beliefs. And this change goes beyond individual to be situated within groups and communities of practice, which is the relevance of social learning. So Interfaces for our work package is grounded in 2 theoretical bases, the theory of change and then social learning as 2 theories. And theory of change is basically a logical and causal pathways of the sequences of activities that an individual or group intends to take to achieve intended objectives. The objective could be that we want to increase yield, eradicate poverty, improve well-being, decrease mental and maternal mortality, among others. And then the change sometimes is linear, or it could be also iterative or interconnected, as you see on my right, or maybe on your left. It could be linear or what? The process could be linear or interconnected and iterative. And then in applying theory of change, there are certain components that are very key. One of them has to do with the reach and reactions, which is the reach has to do with the stakeholders or participants or beneficiaries of your innovation. If you fail to identify the right stakeholders or the right beneficiaries for your innovation, that is going to have an impact on the kind of output that comes from it. Then there are also activities, specific activities that based on the needs and preferences that come out of the reactions of your participants or your stakeholders or beneficiaries, certain activities have to be designed with them. And then when those activities are implemented, there is the anticipation that it leads to capacity change. And once capacity is being changed, there is a behavioral change, that is the way of doing things. and therefore the expected outcome is being met. But that notwithstanding, the outcome there could be unintended results, which could be positive or negative. And it is important we look at all this when we are designing a theory of change. And theory of change is also influenced by external influences such as flood that are coming from other places, war, inflation, and everything that are beyond the control of the environment within which you are, even government policies, beyond the control of the environment within which a project is being situated. Then in the case of social learning is a type of learning that occurs amidst people with divergent views, interests, values, norms, and belief system. And the whole idea is for us to develop or reconstruct knowledge and understanding of reality. And in an environment, it should be situated in an environment where it is conducive for knowledge exchange and meaningful interaction. Where that environment is not there, it becomes very difficult for people to learn and exchange. So social learning actually looks at this. And basically, it works within the framework of democracy, or yes, democratic principles, such as flexibility, that the environment you select for social learning should be flexible. Flexible in the sense that people should be able to participate. Flexibility could be in terms of mobility, or the environment is where it gives a room for open discussion. You could choose an environment where, because of the nature of where you are having your workshop or whatsoever means of learning, because of the environment. For instance, if you go and choose, you are doing a social learning and you choose maybe the house of a chief, that may be very problematic for people to express themselves, because we know that traditionally in the global south, such places are places that comes with high authority and people may not be able to express themselves. So the environment you choose is very important. It should enhance flexibility. Then it should also create a room for respect for each other's views and orientation. That is very important, because if you don't respect people, how do you actually learn with them to co-create an innovation or knowledge? And it should also be inclusive in the sense that it should bring people from different categories of experiences, backgrounds, gender, minority, different people, to ensure that their experiences actually shape whatever innovation or knowledge that is produced, and it has an impact on their livelihoods and their activities. And there should also be the need for voluntary participation. People should first see the need of whatever you want to do so that they participate voluntarily. And there is the room for collaboration, that people should work together, exchange ideas and experiences to ensure that social learning actually takes place. So for interfaces, how did we go about our participatory learning platform? In 2023, in November 2023, we established the Participatory Learning Platform in Northern Ghana and also in Benin. And here we are focusing more on Northern Ghana experience. So how did we go about it? Before developing or establishing the platform, we did a very extensive literature review where we look at what has been reported or what are experiences that are reported as a good practices for social learning and participatory learning. And then how do we integrate gender into this approach? So this framework is actually our own framework that we developed as an approach to integrating gender into social learning. And also we still look at the participatory learning literature and issues of gender. And these are some of the output that has been produced. And then we also reviewed the land policies and agricultural policies, or policies that are related to land and agriculture across the countries of interest. So you see assessment of the levels of synergies in land policies in Ghana, Benin, and Senegal. So all this helped us in identifying categories of stakeholders. So we are able to categorize stakeholders that will be relevant for developing a theory of change. So here we have the different categories, which is government, ministries and agencies, traditional authorities, civil society, private sector or input dealers, farmer-based organization, international development agencies, scientists, researchers, and gender experts. We identified this through the extensive literature that we did. And then following that, we contacted our project partners, which is Quench and Declare. These are also two of the projects in Northern Ghana and also in Benin that are funded by the German government, which the interfaces project is supposed to accompany. So we contacted them, and based on these categories, they were able to profile the different entities or different stakeholders or different institutions that fall under each of these categories, working in northern Ghana and also in northern Benin. And once we got the individual institutions, we were able to map them based on their interest and power in relation to implementing policies or even changing behaviors or implementing innovations, and what interest do they have in this. So based on that, and having known their interest and power, then we're able to select, okay, which categories of stakeholders will be needed. And then we actually invited these stakeholders through official invitation. And due to the fact that there is a likelihood of people not participating, we are always replacing. So if a stakeholder does not participate or a stakeholder does not respond and does not want to participate in the process, we replace them with the next stakeholder. So on the basis of that, we got 25 different stakeholders from 25 different institutions that make up our established participatory learning platform in northern Ghana. And once we establish them, we use different approaches of learning and engagement to ensure that we are able to exchange and co-develop an idea or a knowledge or solution. So some of them included workshops. We used deliberations, dialogue, and reflection approaches. There were field visits and demonstration farms. And one key aspect of what we did is that we also funded the PLP to self-develop their own program, which they think will be very relevant to sustain the platform after the end of the project. And after their deliberation and then their committee, which was set up for this project, they came up with the need for them to be integrated into existing civil society organizations. So they were funded to hold a workshop with civil society organizations working in northern Ghana to discuss how they can collaborate even beyond the project. And also, we also did a lot in-depth gender and intersectional perspective of land users, looking at the different categories of gender: widowed, married, those in monogamous, those in polygamous, those who are in urban, rural communities. And we came to, this gave us a deeper understanding of the different dynamics of land users and the kind of challenges they face. And we also allowed our PLP members to learn from best practices, which include the gender model family. We brought experts from St. Ghana, which is responsible for the development of this gender model family, to ensure we can co-create an environment where men and women, boys and girls can live in a cohesive environment, supporting each other and minimizing discrimination and bias. And we also introduced our PLP members to the Ghana Land Act as a way of sensitizing them on the new provisions in the Act that is very helpful for them to know and enhances land tenure and land tenure security. And then we also held a lot of community fora in some of the project communities of Queens and Declary. And we also conducted gender disaggregated focus group discussion. The whole idea of this was that before going into demonstration farms, especially in the case of Queens, we look at how can we make it gender sensitive to ensure not only men, because it's often reported that demonstration farms are often, innovations are often taken up by men because they are the ones that are often engaged. So we actually discussed with women-specific farmer groups and then men-specific farmer groups as to how we can make the demonstration process and the learning process more gender sensitive to the needs of men and women. And we also engage other high-level institutional directors of this specific institution where we conducted interview with them to get their understanding of the process of sustainable land management, land issues, and the challenges that are faced in northern Ghana. And within all this, our approach was integrated in a very robust and a very skillful facilitation process. The whole idea was that, yes, through effective facilitation, we are able to co-create an environment for open discussion. We are able to address issues of conflict that may erupt, and we are able to also direct discussion. So facilitation was a key component of our approach to engagement. So after our first 2-3 meetings, we developed a theory of change, which has been revised up to its current state. This is currently what we have, which is the co-developed theory of change for sustainable land management in northern Ghana, which was developed with the members and the experiences of the members of the PLP in northern Ghana. So this framework actually looks at how the PLP members or the stakeholders envision sustainable land management into the future, which solutions they think have to be addressed, and what specific activities will have to be taken, and which categories of stakeholders have to be selected and carefully identified whose capacity have to be built, which group of stakeholders have to also be built their capacity, their behaviors will have to change to ensure that their future visions can be achieved. So if you look at the far top, you could see 6 different key things that were identified, including address climate change, maintain biodiversity, improve soil health, reduce poverty, improve food security, and then address women's land ownership. And then because the interfaces project is working within the framework of, let's say, 4 years, we are looking at within these 4 years, what can we contribute as a project? And the PLP members also identify some short, within these two main areas that the interfaces project can contribute to, including maximize production and climate smart agriculture, and then improve land tenure security, women land access, and reduce land conflict. These were the key things that they think within the short period we should be focusing on or contributing to. And then for each of these two, we came down to, for each of these, what specific interventions can be implemented. And if you look at the bottom, you see the arrow pointing to the two. There are specific interventions that the PLP actually developed. They came up with that if this intervention, some of them are implemented to help them in the future in meeting their goals. And then a theory of change always comes with assumptions. What happens? What should happen before something happens? So you could see a lot of assumptions and the risks that if those assumptions do not occur, then the likelihood of not achieving the objective is also possible. And on the far left, or to your right, you see the yellow section, which are the relevant stakeholders whose capacity will have to be developed. Once a capacity is developed, there is the behavioral change. Behavioral change simply means that there is a change in doing things. So all these stakeholders' capacity will have to develop to ensure that they contribute to enhancing sustainable land management innovations. So this is a theory of change that we developed together with our PLP members. So in the whole process of engaging for the past 2 years, we've seen a lot of lessons. We've learned a lot of things from the engagement. And one of the lessons we learned is that there is a better understanding of the context within which you are working. That is framing the problem, the preferences, and the needs of stakeholders. This helps we scientists to gain in-depth understanding of the context within which we work. And for the PLP members, it also helps to know the situated challenges that may be common among everybody, but the experiences may be different. So in this case, you could see that by understanding the visions that they want to have, by looking at the specific activities and even the stakeholders whose capacity have to be built, we gain a better understanding of the context within which we are operating and what is very relevant to them. That is their preferences and needs. And that is what most projects actually fail to do. That is important, you know, the preferences and needs of your research, participant or your project community. And this also helped us to also know the alignment of the local visions of this people with national policy. And that is very important because it helps you in communicating to policymakers that this is what national policy seeks to do, but at the local level, this is what the local people seek to do. So if there's a alignment or misalignment, you're able to better inform policymakers. And this is a publication that we did out of learning with the PLP members. So that's the first lesson we learned. And through this, it contributed to targeted innovations under the Quench and Declare project because it helped the project in shaping how they implement their innovations on the ground in northern Ghana. Then the second lesson you have learned is that through this holistic process of engagement, there is improved knowledge of context-relevant agricultural innovations and practices. Why do I say context-relevant? Because microdosing is being implemented by the Clary project funded by the German government in northern Ghana and Benin. The ISFM is implemented by the Quench project funded by the German government in northern Ghana and Senegal. And from the engagement, 2 years of engagement, we realized that for microdosing to be effective, there are certain conditions that have to be met. If we are implementing microdosing in northern Ghana, especially in the savannah, microdosing one-time application is likely to work because in that context, people have virgin lands where just one-time application is very effective. But if you implement it in northern region, which is the specific northern region, where lands are completely degraded, where soil fertility is very poor, then this one-time application is not likely to work. So it provides us as a researchers and project implementers an opportunity to see the context within which our innovation actually works. The same applies to ISFM. Through the discussion, we came to understand some of the enabling conditions that will be very important for ISFM, which we have to look at. For instance, ISFM requires using residues. A residue in northern context may also be used for other purposes, such as livestock or for fuel. So it gives us the leverage for us to discuss which other interventions could be implemented to avoid conflict. And then the presentation or the interaction with Sen Ghana also offered more perspective of how men and women within communities can actually co-create their livelihoods or their households and live together in harmony, in peace. And there were stories of experiences that were shared from people who are engaged in this gender model family as something that has really impacted their lives and their communities. So these are some of the best experiences or experiences that we have learned from. And the third lesson we have learned is that through the engagement, there is the dissemination and adoption of best practices. If you look at the microdosing and then the ISFM, which is being implemented by Coins and Declare, we are seeing a gradual shift in adoption or a high interest in adoption. For instance, some of our PLP members have reported that somebody is currently experimenting these innovations on backyard farms. Some members have also reported and disseminated the outcomes from our engagement and our TOC, which is a theory of change approach, to members of their associates. That is very good for dissemination. The whole idea of the PLP was to serve as a vehicle for dissemination of such innovation. So that is something that we find is very important. And then after the field visit to the ISF from the demonstration site, I am eager to practice it, especially the biochar component and how to prepare it and teach my women. So it gives that people are showing interest in the kind of innovations that are being practiced or implemented or promoted by the two research projects in northern Ghana. Still on the issue of dissemination of knowledge, we are seeing a shift in attitudes, norms, and behavior through our engagement. And this is mainly focused on gender now being integrated into projects that are developed by members of the PLP. For instance, somebody indicated that from the onset, he was not aware that land asset is still an issue for women, but through our engagement, there's a change in attitude towards land assets. And then we recently developed a project, and I argue for gender to be considered from the onset. That also shows that people are gradually taking the knowledge from the PLP and our approach into their individual institutional project planning. And then during the recent urban planning development framework, I advocated for inclusion of agricultural lands and watershed areas used by women for dry season farming into urban planning. And this became a very topical issue during our discussion because in urban planning in Ghana, more often, agriculture is not included. So seeing this as an approach to including agriculture and even areas where women use for dry farming during the drying season, is really important. And it shows that, yes, the Interfaces project is actually making an impact and changing norms and values and behaviors and attitudes. Then lastly, what we learned is that the 2-year process of engagement has also resulted in building trust among the members of the platform. We see a lot of collaborations and fostering of partnership that is coming up with the PLP and civil society organizations. And we are also seeing the fostering of collaboration in the co-development of projects, because some members have reported how through the PLP they met other institutions and are now co-developing or co-working towards a particular knowledge product or project. And then it has also improved access to state and non-state actors and institutions, because by being on this platform, you get access to actors from diverse institutions, including government, traditional authorities, civil society, private sector, international development organizations, and it allows them to actually get access to this, which ordinarily would not be possible. So what conclusion do we make from our presentation? We must emphasize that these lessons are what we have learned so far, and we are hoping to do the final evaluation after the end of the project. But that notwithstanding, we found learning platforms as a powerful arena for knowledge brokering on agricultural innovations and promoting behavioral change. We also find a platform as an ongoing learning the platform for ongoing learning, knowledge dissemination, capacity building, and relationship building, which is really important. The platform is actually enhancing that. It's also serving as a platform for improving project activities for impact, and we could see how it is shaping the field work that are being conducted by Quench and Declare, and even to the extent to which PhD students whose project did not even initially include gender, because of the discussions we've had, that are now including all those things into their work. So it shows that we are on the path to making an impact. And then learning platforms members exercise pride and ownership over co-created and co-developed knowledge. The PLP platform that we established, and then the process of learning and the theory of change and everything that has been developed throughout this process, they are so proud of the knowledge that they contributed to and they own it, which differs from the process where researchers come in with their own knowledge. But in this case, they produce the knowledge, which is a typical element of co-creation. And then PLP also contributes to knowledge and innovation uptake, upscale, and dissemination or upscale. And this is very important. The PLP, we are seeing the dissemination of our innovations, particularly the microdosing and the ISFM, and also the theory of change approach. Some institutions are already taking it up on how they can also implement it within their institutions, adopting the theory of change approach. So what is the way forward for our project? We are still not done. The project is ongoing. So we aim to conduct a detailed participatory evaluation of the approach with stakeholders. We are saying participatory because we have to engage them to conduct a final detailed evaluation. What are the lessons learned? What are the challenges? And how can we improve upon future processes? This is very important so that we are able to inform policies. We are able to advance frontiers of knowledge on how to co-create innovations and knowledge. And then we also anticipate to disseminate the lessons learned. And next week, we are going to hold one of our workshops with the PLP, 2 days workshop, where one of the project, the Declare project, will look at the dissemination framework that will be developed with the members of the PLP. And then next year, we are also looking at carrying the results of the lessons learned to inform and influence policies at the national level. We are hoping to conduct and organize a national level dialogue with high level policymakers at the national level, where we share our experiences, the lessons learned, and how that can actually influence and shape their policies. And then we are also looking at a knowledge product where our experiences and lessons can also be developed through knowledge synthesis across all the 5 regional projects. I really want to thank you very much for all those who are here to learn of how the Interfaces project has been able to establish and co-create with PLP members and how to actually move it on to policymakers. Thank you so much. And then all those who want to read more about the Interfaces project, we have our links that you can actually go to. Thank you so much, Hannah.